Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Startups on the Blocks. We'll give just a couple of seconds to wait for folks to come over here to the main stage. Glad to have you. I'm here in Belmont, the Villiers, and we call Startup on the Blocks. We named it the Blocks after Belmont, the Villiers. Appreciate you all joining us. We're streaming live on Facebook, and welcome everyone. We have some good information to share tonight, and for those out on Facebook, it's if you join us on the Hopin platform, you can actually network with the other folks that are in attendance. This month we've been focusing on pitching and funding and just how to raise money for your startup. And I had the opportunity last Friday to participate in an event over in Mobile where they were talking to minority business owners and about raising capital for their business. So I'll share my thoughts on that with you all this afternoon. We're excited to announce we're working on some plans for our own Startup on the Blocks pitch competition, and we hope to announce that at the beginning of next month, so stay tuned. You all have an opportunity to request to participate in that competition, and keep your eye on the chat, and you'll see a link to kind of connect with the Startup on the Block, so we can have your name and email address. And when we announce, pitch competitions and our programs, you can get the information firsthand. Alrighty, and if you have any questions specifically related to startups and being a founder, or just understanding the opportunity, about being a founder, feel free to put it in the event chat, and I'll keep an eye on that as I go. And after I finish the presentation, I'll definitely try to answer the questions. Next week, we're going to have a guest and who's really experienced in entrepreneurship, and from a meeting I was in with him this week, he was a part of the company that just had an exit. So we look forward to hearing about that. So without further ado, let's get started. I got my screen shared here, and also I'll turn my camera off so you can actually have a look, see the presentation a little larger. All right, so let's get going. So we'll start off here, and just to kind of make you aware of the opportunity for being a founder in a startup, and so I lead off with this slide. I've been seeing press releases and stuff, and so I've seen several, and I'm not sure what the exact amount is, but over $500 million has been set aside to fund Black founders. And so here at the Kukua Institute with our Startup on the Blocks program, we're trying to get you ready to get some of that money. But from your perspective, you have to, and we're working with people who don't already have their startups. We're working with people who have their ideas, and so the idea is that you out there, you may be working out in the industry, you may have your own brick and mortar business, but we're looking for people who have ideas on how to solve problems based on their own personal experience in the world. And so so that's what we're looking for. So the deal is, if you have an idea, and then the moment you start working on that idea for a scalable, you can scale it out to a lot of users, then you become a founder. And the moment you become a founder, you're in the category to get some of this $500 million or more. And so the idea is, you have to just stop and realize it's all about, you have an idea to solve a problem, and then you start leveraging the ecosystem to actually help you turn that idea into a product or service. So I'll talk about some how I leverage the startup ecosystem and the mindset, and we'll talk about some other key things that'll get you rolling here. So if you look on our Facebook page, Startup on the Block's Facebook page, the post that's pinned to the top is this startup playbook video. It's not a video, but it's just some audio, but it gets you in the right mindset. And so with Startup on the Blocks, we kind of help you get in that right mindset. And part of the mindset is just to realize that there's an ecosystem, and that ecosystem wants to help you grow your startup, help you with your idea, and to the point where you can get in a minimal viable product. For example, I participated in a couple of local mentoring thing. Like, so we announced early when we first got started with Startup on the Blocks about the G Beta program that's local. And so they selected 5 companies. So I agreed to be one of the mentors. So today we had a mentoring session. And so I was able to give out free advice, to the companies. And there were 5 other mentors, and they were able to give out free advice based on their expertise to help those startups move forward. And also I learned from talking to some of those startups there that, so they're in a program and they're getting all this help, and they also have access to a whole that was called the Generator Network, and that gives a lot of free software, free cloud service, etc. But they only have to commit to like 5 to 7 hours a week with that program. And all the programs is designed is just to help you work on your idea, and also it helps, so the mindset is you have to learn it. So what I recommend that you do, and I'll send this briefing out, it's called the Startup Playbook, and you can even Google it, and you'll find a link to it. If I get a chance, I'll post it in the chat as well. But the experts on startups, and it's just telling you what you have to do to order to win at this startup situation. And so the ecosystem actually helps you with this, learn the skills and the best practices for building your startup. And so it's important when you start this journey, you understand what's required, because if people are going to give you help, they expect you to actually be willing to understand the best practices and the of building a startup. So you have to be willing to learn and work on those things. So in my case, with a local startup, and so I got the idea to start my company, not even just the idea to start working on a problem, as a result of a pitch competition that was being sponsored by the Innovation Coast, and that was a local organization, and they sponsored the Innovation Award. So I entered that competition just based on my idea alone. But I didn't get selected to pitch in it, but I did get selected to participate in their the event for the pitching, the demo day for the pitching, and so the first prize on that competition was like $100,000, and that was local. And the only requirement was that you stay in the local region with your startup. You have a presence here, and so but from that event, I actually got selected by Microsoft for some free cloud credits, and initially it was like $60,000, $5,000, which is $5,000 a month, and then after I had been in it, 6 or 7 months, and then they offered me another $120,000 of cloud credits, basically, 10,000 a month, and even in that Innovation Awards, the Small Business Development Center here, they helped out with that. I got some mentoring from them, and there's some free mentoring, and got a bunch of other free software. I got copies of all the Microsoft software, which I still use today. So I haven't had to pay for any Microsoft software, the whole office or anything like that. And then CoLab, which is a local incubator program, they had a demo day, and they invited me to participate in that demo day. I wasn't a participant in the CoLab, but I was connected with them through networking, and so I got a chance to pitch for them. And as a result of that, I got recommended to this Venture High program, where they actually gave me our company. This was like a year after I came up with the idea for my startup. And then so when they were getting ready to, as part of this program, they were giving $25,000 to each startup that participated. And so that's when I formed my company over a year later after I had the idea. And I participated in a lot of networking events and a lot of things locally to get connected to all those things. And also had opportunity to participate in the Cox Get Started program. And that was a kind of like a pitch competition as well. And what was unique about that, it was basically they want you to describe your idea in 250 words, and so from that, I was selected as one of the 5 ideas to get a chance to pitch. And so, so these are all things that the local area, but there are also things that are, in other parts of the state of Florida. There's also things in the Southeast region, and you can Atlanta, New Orleans, and I participated in and applied for a lot of those things, and it really pays off. But you have to get in that mindset, and you have to start working on your system. One of the things that made me realize how challenging it was the state of Mississippi had their Innovate program, and they were having a pitch competition. So I applied for that, and then it required me to pull together in the team all the pitch deck, but the neat thing was we got some excellent mentoring from that, to kind of help us understand, what we're in. And I could go on and on about a lot of things on this chart, but there's, like as a part of that Cox competition, I won $5,000 worth of training from the Studer Institute for a year. And plus also I got some one-on-one pitch coaching from that. So, and a lot of press from the News Journal, the Daily News, and all these other news things as well. Got a chance to speak at the Gulf Power Economic Symposium. Got a chance to have a booth at the Gulf Power Economic Symposium, and just on and on. So it's and that's all that stuff was free. And these are some other programs I participated in, but I actually applied for a lot more. And one of the things I'll mention to you, and I'll come back to some of this later, but got a chance to work with British Petroleum, IBM, Avis Budget, so it's pretty pervasive. Morgan Stanley sponsored this Power Moves thing for minority founders, people of color. So and this was an international program I participated in as well. But the reason why all these people are willing to help you, and all these organizations are willing to help you, because they know if your startup is successful, it will create jobs for the local community. And so that's why they invest in you. But also, the investors, they want an opportunity to invest in a good idea as well. So as a startup, this is we start with an idea. We start with a person that has an idea, and so that's so what's the big idea? So you come up with an idea, and then you use proven methodologies, and you can do a high growth startup. But the economy that we're in now, it's different than the economy we were in 15, 20, 30 years ago. The old economy was a value exchange economy, more like the traditional business idea. But the economy we're in now, we do a lot of collaboration. So we things are more social, and so you have companies like Airbnb, Uber, Lyft, and where people came up with ideas and they created value from those ideas, and that's what a startup does. It comes up in this value creation economy. It actually disrupt the whole value exchange economy in the past, and so that's why part of what's going on here. But what's interesting about when you have an idea, you can actually start trying to validate that idea and through the lean startup methodology. And so the key thing is to learn from your. It's all right to come up with an idea. Talking to Carlos today, he has an idea. Like for example, idea about bullying, an application for bullying. But so what advice I gave him, I said, you need to search the internet and find out what other bullying applications that are out there to see if your idea for a solution already exists. If it does, you may be able to offer it cheaper or whatever. But the key thing is to come up with the idea and go through this methodology to see if you need to pivot to something that a customer actually wants. So I had this conversation today, and I talked about it some last week, and I did this at one of the previous startups. But so when you are doing your pitch, or when you're creating your pitch deck, all of these 9 areas that you see in this lean canvas are in your pitch deck. They're in your application to pitch. They're in your application for accelerator program. And the irony is you only have to spend 20 minutes to kind of start jotting down the things on this canvas. But that 20 minutes, and you keep iterating on it as you validate things on it. So you have to validate each thing, each section that you put in here. And so but that 20 minutes and the recurring times you come back to it saves you time, saves you effort. So when you apply for the pitch competition, they want to know what problem are you solving, who your customers are, what's unique about your solution, over somebody else's solution, what's your revenue model, and what's your competition, and so all of this stuff, if you get this right, you're set throughout your journey for your startup. And so because you can apply for a lot of pitch competition, but if they don't understand, if you can't articulate this stuff on this lean canvas, you're dead in the water. And so that's the message I would give here. So when you're trying to raise money, for your startup, and you're pitching, and the judges or they're trying to figure out how investor ready you are. So if you're still down here at the idea stage, you're not too investor ready. But the good news is the ecosystem still will help you. They will provide you mentors and give you the training that you need, to move on up this to get more investor ready. And so the key thing is you have to be able to articulate what stage you are and what help you need to get to the next stage. And so the better you can articulate that, the better chance you have of winning the pitch competition, or getting the money from your friends and family, or the angel investors, venture capital, etc. And so this is your journey as a founder, coming from that idea stage all the way up to being venture ready and ready to scale. And so some of the companies I had opportunity to mentor today, they were all different types of companies, and they we're trying to get connected to customers, or trying to see, make decision about funding. They were, and some were kind of new at this game. They had been doing a traditional business, and now they want to transition to the approach where you try to scale your product or service out to more users. And so so that, for example, that company, they had so they weren't sure what scaling was, and what determines if you can scale. And so kind of what the advice I gave them, I said, you have a product and you're selling, and they were saying they were named 5 or 6 different customer types. And so I said, so I said, well, do you have an idea what it costs to acquire your customers? Any of those customers? And they didn't have an idea, what it costs. I said, if you get one of those customers, do you know how would they buy just one time, or would they buy every month, or would they buy once a year? And so the advice I gave them, I said, you have to, for those 5 or 6 different customer types, you have to develop a persona for each customer type, and then you have to come up with a marketing funnel or a strategy for each of those customer types, so you can actually communicate your marketing to that particular customer for persona, and then so you do a marketing campaign, and let's say you spend $500 and you acquire 5 customers. So in essence, it's costing you $100 per customer to acquire them. But if you spend that $500 and you acquire 50 customers, then it's costing you $10 per customer. So if that customer spends $10, so it costing you $10 per customer. And so let's say that each customer over the lifetime of their doing business with you, they spend $1,000, and so that means if an investor says, I'll give you $10 million to acquire 1 million customers, that's what the investor looks at. That's what means you have something that scales, because you know how much it costs to get the customer, and you know what the value, lifetime value of the customer. There's a lot of other things that go on in there, but so by becoming a part of these training program and learning the methodology, you actually learn all this, and so that's how you kind of go from this idea up to the venture ready. I think there's a video associated with this, and I'll try to play it. Hopefully it'll work. But so back 20 years ago, you would, well, let's just see if the video will play and keep our fingers crossed, and just let's follow. Well, let me probably have to come up with a different sharing thing. So let me see, can I get that straight, and we'll listen to the video, and then we'll come back. So I'm gonna stop sharing, but let me get back to the right place here. Let's see. I'll turn my camera back on, and I'll stop sharing this screen and bring up the video. Let's see, can we do share again? And let's see, Chrome tab. Let's see this. I think this is hit here, and go here.
As you can see from this picture, we've gone through many different product development methodologies over the years. The key thing to keep in mind, though, is that what drove us to change in each of these previous shifts wasn't simply changing for change's sake, or simply because a group of people got together and decided to do things differently. All these previous shifts happened in response to a change in how customers consume and demand products. In all these previous shifts, we can usually point to a key trigger, usually technology-driven, that changed the way customers consume products, which created a spike in demand. To respond to this spike, we had to fundamentally change how we build products. Let's see how this has played out. Going back 100 years or so, we were going through the industrialization age. This was a time when everyday products from razors to cars were increasingly being mass-produced, and factories were created to meet that customer demand. After the war, lots of factories were getting squeezed on resources and started using just-in-time manufacturing. Taiichi Ohno over in Japan developed these ideas further into a set of practices that became the Toyota production system and eventually lean manufacturing. Efficiency, or reducing waste, was the name of the game, and unfair advantages came from being able to produce the most number of units at the lowest cost. As we moved into software in the early 70s, we adopted the same sequential or top-down waterfall process that we used for building physical products and applied them to digital products. This is what that looked like. Because building products was really expensive then, and making changes even more expensive, we built products in set stages. There was a set stage for requirements gathering, then we went away for a long period of time, often measured in years, where we'd solely focus on building out the product. Once it was ready, we would then release it to customers, and that's when market validation happened. Planning was the name of the game, and unfair advantages came from being able to execute the plan on time and within budget. Now, this approach worked for a while until we started entering the PC computing era. This is when we started using personal computers in everyday work. That shift caused a new spike in customer demand, and the long cycle times of waterfall could no longer keep up. It was quite typical for requirements to change in the middle of the production cycle, and a new lighter weight process was needed. During this time, a number of different iterative product development methodologies like Scrum and XP started popping up. These alternate methodologies were subsequently codified under the umbrella of Agile. The big idea here was to build products incrementally, instead of in set stages, and incorporate customer feedback at periodic intervals during the product development cycle, instead of just at the end. This is what that looked like. Iteration was the name of the game, and unfair advantages came from being able to manage the risk of changing requirements. And then the world changed again. As products went from being developed in the box to being delivered over the internet, customer demand took another step jump. It was no longer enough to simply build what customers said they wanted, because by the time you built that, you learned that what they really wanted was something quite different entirely. In this new world, the only way to ensure you build what customers wanted was to engage them continuously. A number of entrepreneurs started rallying around this new way of working in the early 2009-2010 timeframe, which started into a global movement and led to the Lean Startup. Now, like other methodologies before it, the Lean Startup didn't cause us to shift to continuous innovation, but it helped codify some of the key principles that a number of successful companies were already practicing. Here's what continuous innovation looks like. You'll notice that it looks a lot like waterfall, but with much faster cycle times from idea to market validation. The key difference this time around is speed. What enables this, of course, is that today we are more connected to customers than we have ever been. We no longer need to wait for long periods of time to test an idea. We can simply engage customers through various different channels and test, refine, and course correct before it's too late. The old way of building products used to work at a time when there were huge barriers to entry and few competitors. Even if you got the product completely wrong, you had time to course correct and get back on track. But fast forward to today, with the internet, open source, and cloud computing, it has become cheaper and faster than ever to introduce new products, which means there's a lot more competition than before, both from incumbents and new companies starting up all over the world. The stakes are also a lot higher this time around. In the old world, failing to deliver what customers wanted led to failed projects. But in the new world, continually failing to deliver what customers want leads to total business model failure. This is because customers today have a lot more choices than they did before. If they don't get what they want from your product, they simply switch to something else. This has already taken a heavy toll on a number of companies, names you should all recognize, that fail to adapt to this new reality. The most successful companies today realize that good ideas are rare and hard to find, and that the best way to find the next big idea is to continuously test lots of ideas. While the early adopters for this new way of working were certainly high-tech startups, mostly building digital products, over the years, continuous innovation has been increasingly applied in many different domains, and it works even at massive scale. Here's one example. Jeff Bezos attributes Amazon's success to the number of experiments they run. Amazon Web Services and Amazon Prime all started off as experiments in the company that many analysts at the time declared as big mistakes. Both are billion-dollar units in the company today. And here's a quote from Mark Zuckerberg that drives this point even further home. At any given point in time, there isn't just one version of Facebook running, there are probably 10,000. This gives you some scale of just how many experiments Facebook runs in a typical day. Now, Amazon and Facebook aren't the only ones who employ a continuous innovation mindset. Here's a list of several other companies, all names you should also recognize, that have built in rapid experimentation and continuous innovation into their culture. So what's the common thread in all of this? In this new world, speed of learning has become the new unfair advantage. Companies that learn fast outlearn their competition and get to build what customers really want. By doing this continuously, they stay relevant to their customers and see their business models thrive and grow.
Okay, the bottom line there is when you have a startup, you have a team, and you have to get feedback from the customers and continuously try new things and until you build, measure, learn, and you do that as fast as you can. So let me get back to the presentation here. See if I got the right one here. Yes, I got the right one. Go back to alrighty. So that was I wanted to share that chart because as you're trying to start from that idea and move up, you actually it's your team that you put together that you work on this continuous innovation. And so in addition to your lean startup methodology and you have an idea and you're going through the phases of building your minimal viable product and getting all these fit, and as you just come up to the point where you can actually start to scale out. But in order to do that, you have to have the talent. You have to pull a team together. So when the mindset, of a founder, you have to pull the team together, and because the team is the one that gets you through these phases of building your startup. And this continuous innovation idea is is innovation is what's actually creating the value, because you're proving out your idea and you're pivoting to something that the customer really wants, and so that's how you create value. And so the beauty of this lean startup methodology and value creation, it says you could be a janitor and figure out a new way to do something, cleaning buildings. You could be a secretary to see how bad the processes are running in your company, and you can come up with an idea to improve the process. You could be working in a hospital, and you see these different things happening. And so that's so Startup on the Blocks. What we're trying to do is get more people of color to realize that this opportunity exists. And if you leverage the startup ecosystem, you can, and these proven success methodologies, you can start from idea and create wealth, create value. That's the message of what we're trying to communicate here. And so when you think about the fact that all this money is set aside for people of color, Black founders, and that's why not try to take advantage of some of that help to do that. So the event that I participated in last week, the bank that sponsored the event, they talked about all their methods of how you could actually get money from them, borrow money from them, all the things that you need to borrow money from them. And then most of you all know CEII, Grover, he talked about the approaches that they use, that gave a little bit more opportunity, than to get money than the traditional bank. And so with the community reinvestment program. And so I got up and basically presented most of the briefing that you see here today, and you could contrast the difference. One, in order to fund when you're just doing a traditional business, you have these loans that are available to you, and in order to grow your business. And then, but if you have an idea that can scale, so like today, there was a mentoring the company. They have a brick and mortar location with providing their servers, but then they came up with an additional product that they could actually sell. And that's just like the example I gave with the learning the customer acquisition cost and the lifetime value. But so my point I want to make here, they had a traditional business, and so they stepped into this ecosystem because they were trying to learn how to this additional product they had that they could actually just market over the internet. They wanted to learn how to do that. And so by just so they still got that brick and mortar, and so you don't have to give up your brick and mortar. But and so what? So the question was a conversation I had earlier. Well, they didn't understand what scaling means, and so that's when I told them about the customer acquisition cost and the lifetime value. So you can see this is a regular brick and mortar traditional business. Now they get into this G-Beta program and working on something that scales. Now they're getting all these free mentoring, this free service. That's what I'm trying to communicate. They're going to get an opportunity to do pitch competitions, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the things that you heard in that video that I showed, this this competitive advantage thing, was how fast companies learn. So as a startup, you're trying to solve a problem that's being done the old way or other way, and you're creating a new way to get it done. But basically, what you're doing is you're automating the work, and so there's a book out there called Always Day One, and it's about Elon Musk and some of the other companies, and this idea of always, no matter how big you are, you're always going to do it. It's going to always be like it's excited as if it's day one. But the real thing there, the book was communicating, is when you take a company like Amazon or Google, so this I'm communicating this thing, idea work versus execution work. And so in the old economy, you're doing a lot of execution work where you're going hands-on. And so for example, part of our motivation for starting the blocks is people of color, like say here in Pensacola, 60% of the jobs are going to be that people of color have will no longer exist 10 years from now because they're actually out there doing execution work, hands-on work. And so these big companies, what they do is they figure out ways to automate every process and even use robots to get things done. But and so they have only a few employees doing, working with the robots and doing the manual stuff. And they keep trying to figure out how to automate stuff. And so that's what's going on. And so just think, so like, whereas in the old days, execution work, maybe 80% of your employees are doing hands-on execution work. Now, instead of it's flipped. Now, 80% of the people that maybe, and this I'm not sure what the exact number is, but 80% of people working at Google or 80% of the people work at Amazon or Microsoft, they're all doing idea work. They're figuring out how to automate everything, and that's what's and this is and so their competitive advantage is how fast they learn, and so that's what you have to absorb and understand. Things are not going to stay the same. People are companies are automating. So by being a part of this and taking advantage of the startup ecosystem to help founders turn their idea into a product or service, you actually get in a position to actually make money, because you're automating tests. So you're getting to participate in this situation. And so that's why you want to figure out some solutions for some problems, and so you can be on the receiving end of income as opposed to being automated out of a job. So it's a key concept to understand. So we'll go back to what we're saying. So we want to. And so we would appreciate it if you let people know, if you hear people saying they have an idea for an app or idea for something, they need to learn about this lean startup methodology and leverage the ecosystem to get help. But so when you're building, you're like the video said, when you're working and trying to prove out your product or service, you get customer feedback every step of the way. And so like that, like the young man that said he wants to do a bullying app. He's this people person. He has an idea, and so it doesn't. For the key is keep coming up with ideas, and then you use the lean startup methodology to figure out if it's a good idea by getting the customer feedback. So because you don't want to work on an idea to solve a problem when there's not a big market out there, for that thing. So like I said, I told him to, research, do research. Google is your friend. Research and see what's out there, and you can see if that problem already has been solved, or and then you can see if you got a better way. But the more communications you do with the customer, the better chance you're going to have of solving the right problem. And you as you communicate with these customers, you say, well, if I build this or if I do this, would you buy it? And then you get to the point where some of the startups I mentor now is, like one of the people that got in the G Beta program, for example, they didn't have any major income now, but they had a lot of promise sales, and they had letters just saying, we will buy. We want to buy your product once it's ready to go. And so what you start here with I'm Joe Blow, and I'm just going to be observant. I'm going to see how things are done and see if I have a better way to do it. And then I'm going to start talking to people and tell them about my idea and get feedback on my idea, and keep pivoting till I figure out an idea. I find a problem and have an idea how to solve that problem, and then leverage the ecosystem to kind of go on your journey, so you can create wealth for you and your family. So that's pretty much what I want to cover here. So if you have any questions, let me know. Let's see what's going on here. If anybody have any questions, I'm looking at the chat here. Okay, any questions out there? We have we're gonna have one our last event for the month. We're gonna try to wrap up this idea of being prepared, for these pitch competitions, and how to put in your applications and the kind of stuff you're going to be judged on. And so, like, we were talking about, want to know about the pitch competitions, and then, but so the idea is there's a competition, but there's a gateway. They may, let's say they're going to only let 10 people pitch, or they're only going to let 5 people pitch, but they may get 100 applications, they may get 50 applications, they may get 1,000 applications. So you got to be able to articulate, that stuff on your business, your startup idea, as we said on the lean canvas, so you can actually make it past those rounds to get the opportunity, to pitch. And so that's kind of what the idea is. So let's see. Okay, I see. What's Jim said? How do you think continuous innovation works with retail and other brick and mortar companies? They seem to be slower to adopt and more likely to fail. So I think the best way I would answer that question is so if you look at, so traditional is the brick and mortar places. The continuous innovation is being done by Amazon, and Walmart is playing catch up, with Amazon. And so that's and you see what's happening in the grocery industry as well. And so that's the continuous innovation idea is you got to figure out how to connect with the customer and what the customer wants, and keep innovating on stuff. And you all have seen, so like, for example, Walmart, they have a what they call an innovation program. They have their own accelerator program, and they actually invite companies out to pitch, to get into their programs as well. And so, so with your traditional retail, there's always there seems to be a market for somebody just walking up. But I can tell you, like, let's say, for example, for me, I like to shop local, but there's this product that Robin and I use, and it was, every time we buy it, it was costing us $70. But I would go to the store and they didn't have it. So I finally said, well, I'll just go look on Amazon, and the product was $28 cheaper. So so am I going back to that retail location to buy it? But see, the reason why Amazon can do it cheaper is because they automated their process of getting you the product, and that's what the continuous innovation is all about. Any other questions? All right, let's see what the poll looks like here. Yep, so looks like, yeah, so if you haven't did the poll, go ahead and do the poll. My first question was, have you received any funds for your startup idea? And so the prevalent answer is no. And so what I recommend is you just start telling people about your idea and keep getting feedback and to the point where you can kind of move forward. So it looks like we got some veterans in the audience, and also so how often do you watch pitch competitions online? And it's either no or once a year. And so like if you're getting into this startup and taking advantage of the ecosystem thing, there are several pitch competitions that are going on each week. And so just like you at this event, there you can find events, and there's several demo days going on each week. And also the other one I use is crowdcast.io. They have several pitch competitions each week, so you can actually learn how these startups or founders pitch their idea, and you can also see what the investors are asking. So the first thing you ought to ask, you're telling me there are 5 or 6 pitch competitions going on each week, but it's the honest to God truth, and so it's actually way more than 5 or 6 a week. And so and they're happening in Europe, Germany, other parts of Europe. I was on LinkedIn today, and they were doing a demo day in Portuguese or something, So yeah, it's always something going on, and they're pitch demo days for different like ed tech. I was viewing one last week. There was about the mobility stuff with the internet, so 5G. So there were only companies that had 5G ideas were participating. There were some very unique ideas being presented. And the good news is these folks were just everyday people that based on their work environment, they what they did for a living, they saw that something wasn't being done, and they came up with a better idea of the way to do it. And so one of the pictures I saw, it was pretty interesting. It was about cybersecurity, and so these 2 guys, they were experts in cybersecurity, and so they were doing cybersecurity stuff for their company, but they also were experts in the different operating systems. So they came up with an idea, of how to use AI and integrate to the operating system as opposed to integrating to your email client. And so they're appear to be a very successful company, and they were connecting with international companies and as clients, and supporting their beta testing and doing pilots with these major companies. But I've also seen much simpler ideas, that people were turning into products and services as well. So let's see here. I'm looking at the stage, and Lloyd Jr. has put the the form in there so you can kind of get connected with Startup on the Blocks. And like I said, we will be announcing a pitch competition early next month. And so we are a Startup on the Blocks is kind of like a startup in itself. And so so one of the things for us, we look for how we can leverage the ecosystem for what we're doing. And so, and the ecosystem is helping us out. So this, Versha and I will have a demonstration or onboarding for some software that will allow us to run a pitch competition. And so so just decide you want to start working on your idea, and we start working on our idea to help founders of color in the region. And now organizations are reaching out to us to help us do what we're trying to do. So get involved, and we appreciate you all taking the time to see what we have to offer, and we've already collected some money for the pitch competitions, and we'll also get some organizations or companies to also offer some services. And by the way, the company that is letting us use the software, it's also coming with some services where the people who participate in our platform will get free services as well. So the opportunity abounds. So definitely connect with us, and let us help you move forward on your idea. Thanks for watching, everyone. I don't see any more things, and we appreciate. I see Angela Mitchell from Tallahassee. We appreciate her coming on, and Rosetta Butler, we appreciate you for coming on. Feel free to reach out and connect with us. And so we thank all the folks, and we're here to help you with your ideas to move you forward. Thanks a lot, and see you next week. Good night, everyone.